Hi, thank you for tuning in today. We have three child support professionals on this video answering your questions that you submitted. So thank you for taking the time to submitting your questions. And I hope that you find this information helpful. And if you need additional information, please feel free to contact your local county child support office. You can find their contact information on our website. Let's jump right in here. What is child support supposed to cover?
That's a really good question that we often get. Child support is intended to cover the cost of raising a child or the children. Often, this includes the cost of the basic needs, such as housing, food, hygiene. It also can even include the cost of childcare and educational expenses.
Great. So we had one question. In mediation for my still pending divorce, it was determined that my ex-wife would owe me child support. She refuses to pay and I can't afford another dime to litigate. What recourse do I have?
I can go ahead and jump in on that. This is such a highly emotional process, separation and divorce. I'm sorry to hear that this has been such a struggle for you. I would encourage you to go to your local county child support office and apply for our services. We can definitely help you out. Once a child support order has been established, we can enforce that order, and we have the legal authority to be able to collect child support through what's called an income withholding order. And that's an order that's issued to the employer of the other parent, and then they are required to pull the child support order out of the paycheck. So if full payments aren't received every month, there are a variety of enforcement actions that your county child support office can take. Some of those actions include reporting past due amounts to credit bureaus, can suspend driver's license, occupational license, recreational licenses, intercept tax returns, and there are a few more that are there. But if a child support order has not yet been established, your county child support office can also do that, and they can proceed administratively to make sure that that order does get established for you.
Thank you. If a parent loses their job or gets a new job, is child support automatically changed?
That's another really great question, especially after this last year. We've seen a lot of just change in our lives in general. But when we see people losing jobs or changing jobs, the child support does not automatically change. So what we call the child support owed is the monthly support obligation, which you'll often hear called the MSO. So when we say your MSO is $300, that amount is not automatically changed when situations change in the parent's situation or circumstances. What is required is that a party must request a modification through their county. You'll also hear this called a review and adjustment. So if you have these situations in your life that come up where you lose your job or you get a new job, you want to reach out to your local county child support office and share that information with them. You'll complete a modification packet. They'll review it and determine if there's been a change in circumstances and a change in the potential support owed, and then they'll move forward with the modification. Keep in mind that reason for being unemployed is also considered. So say you lost your job. That doesn't necessarily mean that you now have no income or potential income. So the county child support office will consider all the situations or circumstances around your specific situation to determine if it's appropriate to change the monthly support obligation.
Thank you. I know, I'm sure a lot of people have that question, especially with the past year we've had. So thank you so much for answering. Our next question is, does child support end automatically when the child turns 18?
Great question. So every state has a different emancipation age. In the state of Colorado, in most cases, child support ends when the child turns 19 or graduates from high school, whichever one comes later. But you should also always refer to your court order because it might say something different. And what I mean by that is some court orders allow for child support to continue past the age of 19 in special cases. For instance, if a child has, some other sort of developmental needs. But I would refer you to your court order because that will always be the best guide on this question.
Great. All right, our next question that we received was, the other parent is using child support for personal purchases. What should I do?
Right. And this can be such a frustrating situation. So while the county agencies don't track how child support payments get spent, you can always contact your local court resource center, and that can be found on the state judicial website. That's certainly what I would recommend, just to see what those options are.
That's a great resource. So the next question we received was, what happens if the child comes to live with me?
So if your child comes to live with you, the first thing you should do, after, of course, taking care of the new situation, is to contact your county child support office. It's really important that you contact them as early as possible or as close to the change as possible. So when there's a change in where the child lives, the parent, you, or the party, maybe it's a grandparent, they should request a modification. These situations are often called role reversals or post-order change of physical care. So you may hear those two terms and they're kind of used interchangeably sometimes. In this event, again, it's important that you contact your child support office and they can start the review process so that the child support may either stop or change, or child support may be going to you.
Thank you. Our next question. I live out of state, and every time I try to call the child support office in Colorado, they will not talk to me. Why is this, and how do I find out what is going on in my case if my local office never responds?
So that is a really good question that we get a lot, and live in different states. And in those situations, we call those cases interstate cases. So actually, if you live in another state and you've applied for child support services in the state where you reside, that is the office that you should be communicating with in order to get information about your case. Federal policy and guidance actually indicates that that's who the custodial parent should communicate with, is the office where they applied for services. Because, if you're getting information from two different sources, it can sometimes be conflicting, and it can also create a lot of confusion and situations where people say that the other state said something and maybe they did, maybe they didn't. And it just creates a lot of kind of bad feelings all the way around with the case. So even though you may be having trouble communicating with the state where you applied, which I know can be, very frustrating, and you feel like you're not getting any information, it really is best to pursue getting your information from the state where you applied for services, and not, and calling Colorado. Most, they're going to tell you that that's what you should do, and you just should be persistent in trying to get the information from the office where you applied for services.
Great, thank you. Okay, so next question was, my ex's new spouse makes a lot of money and they're very well off, and I'm barely able to pay my bills, let alone child support. It doesn't seem fair that I still have to pay so much for my order. Doesn't her new spouse's income count?
Yep, we get this one a lot. And unfortunately, the new spouse's income is not typically counted. There may be very rare situations in which the new spouse's income is counted, but the child support is calculated by the legal parent's income. So typically the other parent, if they're working or not working, or if their situation has changed because maybe their new spouse is making additional money, then a modification can be requested. So this is another situation where if you are feeling like you're unable to pay your child support, or if you feel like the situation of the other parent has changed as far as their specific income, you will want to contact your county child support office and see if a review and modification is appropriate.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Oh, so we're already to our last question here. I live in Colorado, but the other parent does not, and he often moves to avoid child support. What is the best way for me to still receive child support?
So in this situation, the best way to obtain child support, like we've kind of said in other answers, is to contact your local county child support office. They will review your case and determine the best course of action. Sometimes that may involve opening what I mentioned earlier is called an interstate case, where they send a request to the state where the other parent lives and ask them for assistance. It is important to note that cases involving two states, they sometimes present additional challenges, communication being one, as we discussed earlier, and they sometimes can just take more time. So if the other parent lives in another state and your county office has determined that the best way to try to enforce the support order is to get another state involved, please try to be a little patient, as it may take a little bit more time to get the results that you're looking for.
Thank you so much. So all these answers have been extremely helpful, and I hope that for those who are watching, they feel the same way. And as I mentioned before, if you feel like you still want more information or you're looking for an answer to a different question, please feel free to check out our website. It's a great resource. We have a Child Support Services handbook on the publications page, some flyers, all kinds of information, even contact information for your county. And that website is childsupport.state.co.us, or you could always Google Colorado Child Support Services, and we're the first result on that page. And also, of course, please follow us on social media at Support CO Kids. And thanks again for watching.